The opinions brought up in this episode of A Teens to Toonies are my own and my own alone. You may not share the same opinions, however, it is not bad if you don't. Please don't attack myself nor anyone else that has worked on this show with me. Please also know that the topics in this episode may include, but are not limited to, racism, discrimination, politics, political bias, unsettling content. Please watch at your own discretion. Thank you. Hello everyone, my name is Zeb Fulcher, and welcome to A Teams to Toonies, the show where it seems we can't spell discrimination. As you can tell, our team is still learning as we go along. Here are this week's hot topics. Black Lives Matter protests have been raging on for 22 days as of the uploading of this episode. And to begin, I want to talk a minute about defunding the police. It sounds scary, right? How can we possibly live in a society where there's no law and order? How can we trust our fellow citizens to regulate and control their behavior without police intervention? Well, the answer is simple. We can't. So thank God, defunding the police doesn't mean completely dismantling all police departments and just allowing society to function as a self-regulating free-for-all. Defunding the police means devising money from police departments and reinvesting that money into community services, health and mental health services, and education. It means giving communities a better chance overall. It means we allow people truly trained in their field of expertise to deal with domestic disputes, drug overdoses, mental health crisis, welfare checks, building trust and relationships within the community. And you know what? We know that this works. Just 7 years ago in Camden, New Jersey, they had the highest murder rates in the entire United States. And they dismantled their police department. They rebuilt their now 50% minority police department into a community-focused police department. And their officers spend more time outside of their cruisers and on the streets. They get to know their community, they gained their trust, and they lowered crime. Shooting and murders were down by 50% in just 2 years. Defending the police and rebuilding police departments can and will reduce crime rates and allow for more effective and efficient community services. And most importantly, it will allow us to create a system free of systemic racism. It will allow for a more fair and equal criminal justice system. Now to some Donald Trump stories. The coronavirus stimulus package was rushed through Congress in an attempt to get much-needed money into the hands of our United States residents and as quickly as possible. Because of this rush, we are now just learning about yet another attack on immigrants by the Trump administration and Republican lawmakers. This particular attack is unique because it impacts many legally documented immigrants and their American-born citizen families. Any immigrant without a Social Security number is ineligible to receive the economic impact payment. That means well over 1 million legal documented immigrants who are awaiting green cards and who file and pay taxes with a tax ID number have been rendered ineligible for $12,000. But what really makes this atrocious is that the American citizen spouses of immigrants who file jointly with a tax ID are also deemed ineligible. Let's be really clear. An American citizen who pays taxes, who is married to someone not from the United States, and they file joint taxes with, will not receive the $12,000 stimulus package if their spouse does not have a Social Security number. This is beyond comprehension to me. The stimulus was meant to help Americans through a global pandemic. It was meant to offer residents of the United States just a little bit of reprieve during an incredibly challenging time. And it was meant to help stimulate the U.S.'s rapidly crashing economy. Yet, a deliberate decision was made to leave out legal residents of the United States and American citizens who dared marry someone from another country. I thought the GOP had an irrational issue with undocumented immigrants, but this really goes to show that the anti-immigrant bigotry goes so much farther. Some other news this week: the new Netflix show Space Force, starring Steve Carell, John Malkovich, and Ben Schwartz, is currently under fire from the United States military, since the show focuses on the brand new Air Force branch, Space Force. The show filed to trademark the name in January of 2019 while in development before the real-life United States created the very real United States Space Force, and the U.S. is now filing trademark and copyright infringement. Even though Space Force, the show, decided to use the name before the United States, the U.S. Air Force spokeswoman Lynn Kirby said, U.S. Space Force is the name of a government entity and will not be misrepresented as an official endorsement, nor its marks used on commercial products without a valid trademark license. As an equal branch in the Department of Defense, U.S. Space Force marks are afforded the same legal protection as those of the U.S. Army, U.S. Marine Corps, U.S. Navy, U.S. Air Force, and U.S. Coast Guard. Coronavirus cases have now risen from 7,115,557 cases and 406,606 deaths worldwide as of Monday, June 8th, to 7,823,453 cases and 430,560 deaths worldwide as of Saturday, June 13th. As you can see, that is almost 1 million new cases every week. I find that to be crazy. U.S. data also includes 2,007,613 cases and 112,472 deaths on Monday, June 8th, to 2,134,111 cases and 117,235 deaths as of Saturday, June 13th, when the script was written. The U.S. includes about a tenth of each week's new cases. This week, as you heard and saw, the United States passed 2 million total cases, and an obvious second wave has emerged around the United States in states such as Texas, Florida, and California, 3 of the most populated states in the United States. This is all for our hot topics. Up next, dump truck.
Bing, bing, bong, bong, bing, bing, bing.
To get this week's dump truck started, I just want to look back at and follow up on last week's episode about the 75-year-old man, now known to be Mr. Martin Gugino, who was shoved over by Buffalo, New York police on June 4th, has now released what his injuries were to the accident. His lawyer said that Gugino is suffering from a brain injury of some kind and a fractured skull. A few days after our episode aired, Commander Windy Pants responded on Twitter with, quote, "Buffalo protester shoved by police could be an Antifa provocateur. 75-year-old Martin Gugino was pushed away after appearing to scan police communications in order to black out the equipment. One American News Network. I watched. He fell harder than was pushed. Was aiming scanner. Could be a setup?" Are you kidding me? Benedict Arnold, did you actually watch the video? Let me replay it.
He is bleeding!
Out of his ears! Bleeding out of his ears! Get somebody over here! He's bleeding out of his ear!
You think he fell too hard, do you? It's a setup, really? You know that he's suffering from a brain injury and fractured skull and has blood pouring out of his head after the fall, right? You know what? You're right. I'm sure it was an Antifa setup. I've seen Antifa meetings all the time at my local Tim Hortons. Ooh, scary. Also in the news this week, on Friday, June 5th, the Tangerine Tornado of Doom went on tour of a facility in Maine where they manufacture cotton swabs for coronavirus testing. The facility only opened the day during the tour, and the swabs made during the tour were thrown out. The facility never gave a good reason why they were thrown out. However, logic would tell you that the reason why was that since the dumpling decided not to wear a mask, they couldn't be sure that the products weren't contaminated with COVID or any other illness. I think that even though the bankruptcy king doesn't look the greatest in the mask, he should still wear one, as to not make the drought of medical supplies dwindle further into its bottomless pit. The economy has in fact decreased more this year than any other year between the crash of 2008 to the present. And if we slow down the supply of medical supplies and slow down the COVID relief action, the economy may decrease even more. That's all for the dump truck. More after this break. Hey, do you want a podcast where you can talk about some of your favorite movies such as Iron Man and Detective Pikachu? What about some old movies such as The Wizard of Oz or Star Wars? Well, you've come to the right place. Visit the Movie Mania Podcast now on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, and more. Talk to our hosts, Zeb Fulcher and Ryan Hill, about some of your favorite movies. New episodes every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Also, do you want to come on to the show? Email us at themoviemaniapodcast@gmail.com. That's themoviemaniapodcast@gmail.com. Welcome to the MAGA Factor, where we expose those who have been convinced by the screaming carrot demon to do some horrible things. To get this week started, I want to look at Warren, Michigan, where on June 9th, an Amazon delivery man being arrested after allegedly parking on the wrong side of the road to deliver a package. However, authorities will not give a proper reason. The police officer in this video allegedly asked the driver 11 times for his license, which the man refused. However, after a search of the vehicle, there was a legal and in-date driver's license within it. The officer in the video is said to have been placed in administrative leave, but is still receiving pay. The man's mother was asked by Fox 2 about her son's arrest and said, quote, "With everything happening now, it's too scary. It has really tormented my family, and it has really tormented my son." I can fully agree with her. If my mother was arrested for parking on the wrong side of the road, I would be really scared too, since that is such a drastic response to such a petty crime. The man is being charged with resisting arrest, failing to obey a lawful command, and failure to produce a driver's license. Even though, in this video that I'm about to show, the driver says, quote, "I'm getting my license out."
Hey, man, what you doing? Hey, man, I'm getting my license out. I'm getting my license out, bro. I am getting my license out. Hey, man, I'm getting my license out, bro. I'm getting my license out. I'm getting my license out. Hey, I'm getting my license out, bro. Hey, I'm getting my license out. Hey, man, hey, I'm getting my license out. Hey, man, what the f***? Hey, man. Hey, man, it's the bullshit. I'm getting my license out.
Another thing that happened this week was that the United States Navy has recently banned the use of Confederate flags on all ships and naval bases, which I personally find to be long overdue. However, one NASCAR racer, Ray Cicerelli, has seen a different point of view. After NASCAR following the naval ban, they banned all Confederate flags from their racing events. The racer took to Facebook over his fury of the ban, saying, quote, "Well, it's been a fun ride and dream come true, but if this is the direction NASCAR is heading, we will not be participating after the 2020 season is over. I don't believe in kneeling during the national anthem, nor taking people's rights to fly whatever flag they love. I could care less about the Confederate flag, but there are people that do, and it doesn't make them a racist. All you're doing is effing one group to cater to another. I'm not sure what to say to this. I think that he doesn't know why the Confederate flag exists. And if you don't know, it was used by the Southern then Democrat states who were opposed to black slave freedom. It obviously doesn't know why the flag is a racist image. And it's basically the same as the common viewing of a swastika or an upside down cross. This is it for the MAGA Factor. Next, I'm going to show you how to ruin your whole career, again, with only one tweet. To begin, I want to look back at Harry Potter writer J.K. Rowling's troubled history with LGBTQ+, specifically trans equality. December 19th, 2019. Joanne defends Maya Forstater, who was fired from her job for the transphobic comments she put on her Twitter. Maya wrote, quote, "I share the concerns of fair play women that radically expanding the legal definition of women so that it can include both males and females makes it a meaningless concept and will undermine women's rights and protections for vulnerable women and girls. Some transgender people have cosmetic surgery, but most retain their birth genitals. Everyone's equality and safety should be protected, but women and girls lose out on privacy, safety, and fairness if males are allowed into changing rooms, dormitories, prisons, sports teams." Basically, she's saying that you cannot call yourself a woman if you are trans, especially calling trans women as males in the tweet, since that undermines born women. Rowling wrote in response, "Dress however you please, call yourself whatever you like, sleep with any consenting adult who will have you, live your best life in peace and security, but force women out of their jobs for stating that sex is real? Hashtag I stand with Maya, hashtag this is not a drill." In this case, it's obvious Joanne doesn't really know what the whole point of what Maya said. Maya meant that if you call yourself a woman but you were born a male and you have male genitalia, you are a male. J.K. Rowling recently, June 6th to be exact, tweeted an article titled "Creating a More Equal Post-COVID-19 World for People Who Menstruate." They obviously use the term people who menstruate, since trans men do still menstruate if they haven't had any procedures done to stop that. And that is very clear when you read the article, and they say, quote, "An estimated 1.8 billion girls, women, and gender non-binary persons menstruate." It's obvious J.K. Rowling just read the title and decided to post this onto Twitter. People who menstruate. I'm sure there used to be a word for those people. Someone help me out. Wumban, wimpund, womund. J.K. Rowling's mind jumps to only women, and not to a giant amount of people in this world who are transgender and non-binary. I think she should just expand her view on people in the world instead of her 1950s era only men and women are the only genders assumption. After this break, we'll talk about some lighthearted news. Hello everyone, so this week's charity is Help Martin Gugino GoFundMe, organized by Carlos de Jesus, or de Jesus, I don't know. And this GoFundMe is to help donate to Martin, the man we were talking about earlier in the episode, the 75-year-old man who was knocked over by police. And this is to donate to pay off his medical funds. And currently the donation has $31,160, and their current goal is $40,000. So I want everyone to donate as much money as you can to this amazing fund. And yeah. Hello everyone, welcome to Something Light, where I just show off some really nice things and good things that happened throughout the week. Kind of ended off and smoothed down the stress of life. To kick off this segment, I want to first go to Royal Oak, Michigan, where an Italian restaurant called Trattoria Pizzeria da Luigi was allowed to reopen as long as it kept the guests' social distancing. Since the pizzeria is a table-style restaurant, it's difficult to enforce social distancing guidelines. However, owner Luigi Cutraro, I think. I'm sorry. I'm going to mispronounce a lot of people's names. I'm sorry. Luigi Cutraro had a much simpler idea. Put ghosts at tables that are to be unused. I think that this is very creative and a funny way to help social distancing, and I think other restaurants should figure out similar ways of doing so. And I also agree with Luigi when he says, I also don't want to use mannequins. I think that would just be really creepy. Another cool thing I saw this week was that a company was trying to set up a salvage expedition into the wreck of the Titanic in order to collect its wireless telegram machine. But the U.S. government is saying that they can't, since the wreck is broken in such a way that if you would try to get into the area with the machine, you would break the wreck, therefore breaking the U.S. and Britain's agreement to not disturb the ship's hull, human remains, or other artifacts. I would have to say that it would be cool to see more objects from the ship. As a very big Titanic fan, it would be very cool to see things from the actual ship. But I also agree with the United States. If you can't get in without breaking anything, then just don't try at all. The last thing I saw this week was that there was a senior high school student in Buffalo, New York, who saw the destruction and trash all over the street from these protests, and spent over 10 hours cleaning the street, and the people of Buffalo gave him, as thanks, a car and a scholarship to Medill College, I think. I don't even know college names, I'm sorry. Which is his dream school. And I very much love that story. I really wish I had the same work ethic as him, but that's touching. That brings us to the end of our time here today. We upload new episodes of A Teens to Toonies every Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on our YouTube channel, as well as Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, Anchor, Breaker, CastBox, Overcast, Pocket Casts, and Radio Public. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at A Teens to Toonies with the number 2, or at the link in the description below. Have a good evening, everyone. See you next week.